I'm Margareta Serfozo-Matharu from Ofwat, the water regulator in England and Wales.
And I'm Freddie Levett, also from Ofwat. Welcome to Spark, our digital innovation channel.
At Spark, we're meeting experts in innovation and new thinking from a range of sectors and industries.
We're asking them to showcase their experience and knowledge and inspire the water sector to think about what might be possible.
Last week, we found out that organizations can collaborate to innovate. And we found out that many sectors are looking beyond their own boundaries and working with others, including customers, to innovate.
And this week, in our final episode, we're looking at why you shouldn't wait to innovate. We'll also be recapping what we've learned over the previous 3 weeks about what it takes to innovate.
But first, what does it take to spark change? We took a closer look to find out more.
Our world is increasingly complex, uncertain, and interdependent. It is also changing rapidly, so why is there a need to innovate now more than ever?
Marks & Spencer are one of the UK's biggest and well-known retailers.
Well, innovation's been a lifeblood, I think, for many businesses, for Marks & Spencer, for decades. I mean, what's different now is the sheer scale of innovation, the sheer scale of pressures we need to respond to. And I'll just characterise them in 3 very quick buckets. There's an economic challenge in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, the proverbial artificial intelligence, robots, sensors, driverless cars, amazing opportunity to do things different economically. But also we need to decide to use those new technologies in the right way for society and environment as well. So there's a whole degree of disruption about economics. Secondly, the environment. We live in a world of 7 billion people moving towards 10 billion, 1 billion middle-class consumers moving towards 4 billion. There literally aren't enough fish in the sea for all of us to live and consume as we do here in the West today. We need to find a dramatically different way of interacting with nature. And then there's a third great challenge, which is the role of business in society. People asking questions about human rights, about privacy, about tax, about gender, about commitments to diversity. And again, we need to utterly disrupt the old way of doing things and bring all that together. So economically, socially, environmentally, there's a great series of disruptions that face into us. You can be daunted by them, or you can be excited by them. And that's what we are. And that's what we're trying to drive forward, a way of satisfying consumer need in a totally different way in the future.
PA Consulting Group is a consultancy specialising in management consulting, technology and innovation.
On all fronts, commerce, technology, socioeconomics, equality, the environment, the world's in a state of flux. And this period of change and evolution is set to totally disrupt how we live and work. In fact, it's already happening. So here's a few key stats. There are about 8 billion devices connected to the internet today. But by 2020, there are going to be about 50 to 75 billion devices connected.
The Global Resilience Partnership aims to help vulnerable people in parts of Africa and Asia to adapt to shocks and chronic stresses and invest in a more resilient future.
I think the world is changing so fast now, and some of these challenges that we're trying to address are really critical, because I think they're leading us towards some key tipping points, if you will, that if we don't address them soon, then we're going to be in places where we really don't want to for the future of our planet and for the people here. And that's also the challenge of, with huge population growth projected into the future as well. So finding that balance is hard, but for us it's especially about pushing forward quite quickly. I think we push people to take risks, and we're trying to encourage failing fast, but also really trying to make sure that we have really set processes in place, if you will, that will allow certain voices to come up and opportunities for learning as we go along the way.
Sustainability First is an environmental think tank with a focus on practical policy development in the areas of sustainable energy, water and waste.
3 main reasons that we see it's important for companies to innovate in this space. One is about meeting existing needs. So for example, we know there are millions of customers that struggle financially to afford their utility bills. And can we come up with new ideas to help them with affordability issues is one example. We also know that customers face access challenges when using services. So how can we address those issues, for example? And then there's the situation that's what's coming in the future. What future need is there going to be in terms of vulnerability? And we know, for example, there's going to be an increasingly ageing population, there's likely to be an increasingly disabled population, a rise in households, single-person households, which has implications because it means people don't have the same support networks there. And then there's the meeting unarticulated needs. So the National Audit Office, for example, did a kind of cross-sector report looking at vulnerability recently, and they said nobody's really captured what are the benefits of innovating to support vulnerable customers in terms of wider societal implications. You know, the savings that we can make, the services more widely that can be delivered more efficiently if companies themselves are innovating in this space.
The Institute of Customer Service is the independent professional membership body for customer service.
So the future, what we'll be expecting as customers, is a seamless experience. The future is about making it as easy as it possibly is for me. Being able to talk to people that are knowledgeable, which is going to continue to be really important, and to talk to people that actually have empathy, are connected to me and understand my issues and my challenges. So service of the future will be that wonderful combination of transactional activity being taken care of, but actually the service elements where I can make a difference will require even greater human interaction.
5AI are a company developing software for driverless vehicles.
Some of the challenges out there in society, we've looked at how can we reduce the number of people killed and seriously injured on the roads. We've looked at how can we address really chronic issues of urban congestion that we have in our cities and towns at the moment, and how can we address issues of air pollution. So we think our solution is going to be able to do all of those things. You know, there are a lot of different kind of forecasts out there. I think we have a view that the prevalent model in the market will be a service model, so people won't buy their own autonomous vehicle to use, they will actually call them up on demand, so there'll be shared fleets of vehicles operated by companies like 5AI, and people will be able to book the specific journeys that they want to make, and that will become the prevalent use model.
So there is a clear need for all sectors of the economy to innovate now. But is there a particular need in the water sector?
Fletcher is the new Chief Executive of Ofwat.
It's an iterative learning process, so in a sense you cannot start too soon. I mean, it's also that you know, there's an opportunities are being lost right now. There are future challenges, but you know, there's real-term opportunities to give customers a better experience when they call up or have a query with their bill. You know, there are here and now improvements that can be made, sometimes just by simple adoption of a new approach that might be business as usual somewhere else. I think as well, kind of beginning to create that frame of mind in the sector about looking outwards and keeping an open mind about new ways of doing things is a culture and a mindset that you want to grow and to keep reinforced, so that as new technologies come along, as new ways of doing things come along, you've already created a receptive environment in which the business can absorb those new tools and techniques and find good ways to put them to use.
Dr. Thérèse Coffey is the Minister responsible, among other things, for the UK government's water policy in England.
I think the risks to the water companies in being left behind and not innovating now, or not identifying ways that they can tackle things in a collaborative manner and innovative manner, is that their costs themselves will dramatically increase, and that's not going to be passed on to customers. It's absolutely imperative that they are using all the levers that they can. Of course we're going to need ongoing investment in capital projects, but it's that collaboration and that innovation which will be key, whether it's about customer service, whether it's about the technology, whether it's about the way they deliver projects. There is no excuse, and they will, frankly, water companies will simply not benefit if they are not prepared to innovate.
So there are risks and challenges associated with innovating, but companies need to start innovating now to respond to the future challenges and capitalise on these opportunities. Ultimately, companies are going to innovate, and sometimes it's not going to work out, but they need to learn from that and take that on their journey of innovation. So that brings us almost to the end of this series of Spark.
But before we go, here's what we learned over the last few weeks. In week 1, we learned innovation is more than just new technology. It can be processes, services, new ways of operating, or mindsets.
It can benefit everyone involved: customers, communities, businesses, the environment, companies and their employees.
In our second week, we learned that a culture of innovation brings in different perspectives to help generate better ideas and refine them.
We also learned that leadership sets the tone of an organisation's culture and so encourages innovation.
In week 3, we discovered that it's worth looking beyond your company, your sector, and even your competitive instinct to work with other companies to innovate.
You can also work with customers and communities because they are the people who will actually tell you what they really want. And finally, as we've just learned, you shouldn't wait to innovate.
The scale and pace of our world is changing, and this means that all sectors need to innovate now, including the water sector. So that brings us to the end of this series of Spark. Thank you for joining us.
We hope you've enjoyed it, and a huge thank you to all of our contributors over these past few weeks. Don't forget you can catch the full interviews with each of them on our YouTube channel.
There's still a chance for tell us what you think on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and through emails. In particular, what is the best way to generate more innovation? Don't forget to use our hashtag.
Yeah, don't forget it. And on Friday, we'll be joined on our weekly Periscope, the live streaming tool on Twitter, by a very special guest. We'll also be rounding off the 4 weeks with a Twitter hour to explore the big themes in a bit more detail. So it's a final goodbye from me.
And a very, very final goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Coming up next week, we have a special bonus Spark programme for you, so stay tuned.